The Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Ben Franklin, Roger Sherman, and Robert Livingston included the political ideas from philosophers such as Locke, Rousseau, and Montesquieu in the Declaration of Independence. Looking at Locke's second treatise of civil government, you can't help but notice the similarities between the language Locke used and the phrases used in the Declaration of Independence. Ideas such as natural rights as they relate to life, liberty, and property, the consent of the governed, and the concept of limited government were all borrowed by the authors of the Declaration of Independence. For instance, Locke describes natural rights as the state of nature has a law to govern it, which obliges everyone. The Declaration of Independence calls natural law laws of nature and nature's God. On equality, Locke refers to people as men being by nature all free, equal, and independent, whereas the Declaration of Independence announced that all men are created equal. In addition, the Declaration of Independence used many of the concepts from English common law related to the rights of the accused and the institutions such as representative colonial assemblies as the rationale why the colonists wanted to revolt against Great Britain. Look at the Declaration of Independence itself. You should be able to summarize the major parts of the document. The philosophical basis. Using Locke's philosophy, the Declaration of Independence establishes unalienable rights as the cornerstone of natural rights. As a consequence of these rights, limited governments are formed, receiving their powers from the consent of the governed. The grievances. In a lawyer-like dissertation, the second part of the Declaration of Independence makes the case against Great Britain. Taxation without representation, unjust trials, quartering of British soldiers, abolition of colonial assemblies, and the policy of mercantilism created a logic for drastic change. The Statement of Separation. Announcing to the world that the colonists had no choice but to revolt, Jefferson stated that it is not only the right, but the duty of the colonists to change the government. You should understand how risky the revolution was for the colonists. Like David against Goliath, the outcome of the American Revolution was far from certain. England had superior power, a navy that was supreme, and resources that could support a war effort. The colonists, resorting to guerrilla tactics and a knowledge of their land, had leadership and a desire for freedom. Called a conservative revolution, the new leaders tried to create a government based on the idea of the consent of the governed. Individual state governments guaranteed their citizens the rights they had under British rule. Power was not centralized, and the new nation made sure that the new Constitution, the Articles of Confederation, could not end up as a government with a king. Even though the Declaration of Independence stated that all men are created equal, the societal structure did not reflect equality. The unalienable right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness were assumed to apply to male white colonists. The issue of slaves and women having these rights was not addressed. Because the American Revolution was the first attempt to apply these principles, the fact that all segments of society were not initially included was not surprising, because those in power did not want a great deal of political and social upheaval. Whether this principle has been realized is still a debatable question. Today, many minority groups would make the argument that they have not been given the full equality. Property as an indicator of wealth and status was also a requirement for political office. The states and individual state legislatures became the dominant force. Economic problems immediately faced the new nation in the form of repayment of war debts to the central government and individuals facing an economic recession caused by the war. Farmers who believed that the new government was not fulfilling the objectives of the Declaration of Independence took up arms. Even though Shays' rebellion failed, it sent a signal to the newly formed government that it had major problems.